Very good. Okay, and you guys can hear me all right? Okay, awesome. All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Linda. All right, so forgive the noise in the background. I am at home. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. They're banging around on the drums. So we will do the best we can, and I'll try to speak loud. So we are going to Ireland and the UK. It is going to be an 11-day trip. I'm really excited to share some of the details about what the logistics will be for this. So as we jump into our meeting, before we get started, forgive me one second here. Okay, mom's non-responsive, so we're gonna have a little bit of a drum beat. Maybe I'll speak in a rhythm for you guys. Okay, we are, if I can jump back here. Again, camera's optional. Please stay on mute for the time being. And then there is a sign-in QR code as well as a tiny URL. I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. Give me just a second. Okay, Ringo was done with the drum solo. Okay, so here's the QR code. The purpose of this is for you to be able to take pictures, or I'm sorry, take any questions you might have. You can join with that tiny URL as well. This is going to be a link to a form, and just to honor everybody's time as best as possible, drums notwithstanding, if you can just drop any questions you have. I think I'm going to answer probably 98% of the questions that people will have. However, there's going to be a couple unique situations that may apply to some folks, and I can follow up with you guys after the meeting. And I should be able to answer 98% of the questions, usually on my own anyways, but we will defer to the EF Tours folks when we need to. So let's go ahead and get rolling here. Does anybody need another minute to get that URL up? Okay, let's go for it. So our agenda, this is what we're going to go over. So we're going to talk about a general introduction of myself, our partnership with EF Tours, which is education first, and our tour itinerary, what students gain from travel, safety and support, what comes included and what's not, prices and tour dates, and then basically, again, that tiny URL for kind of unique questions. I hope to have you folks out of here within 20 minutes. So it should be pretty informative, pretty quick, and then I'm more than happy to follow up with individual concerns and questions afterwards. Okay, so I am Mike Brandt. I'm the Dean of Pathway Learning at Vista Ridge High School. I've been in the district for 10 years. I currently run the Pathways program and the work-based learning. So if kids are interested in job shadows or internships, I'm a big fan of getting kids learning outside of the classroom. Let's see here. Okay. I taught art in the district for 7 years at Sand Creek High School, which is where I started my travel program. And now we're continuing that tradition over here at Vista. And funny enough, the person here at Vista who was running one of the travel programs went to Sand Creek at the same time I came here. So just a fun little coincidence, but good tradition to continue. So let me jump into a little bit of what we've done in the past. So here are 4 locations I've brought students to in the past through EF Tours. On the upper left, just kind of go clockwise here. That is Cabarete in the Dominican Republic. We did a service learning tour down there in which we helped out a school for girls build a permanent permaculture garden. We did a lot of manual labor, pouring cement and just kind of improving the school in a variety of projects. The picture in the upper right is from Ecuador. We did a mix of touring and service learning there. And we basically helped out some indigenous communities build a, what do you say, like quarters for doctors, places for doctors to sleep. in the middle of the Amazon rainforest and just kind of support this community need. And that was a really fantastic trip as well. We, again, these are all with students through EF. Bottom left, that's Machu Picchu. That was a tour of Peru that was purely tourism, of course, highly educational, but not with the service component. And in the bottom right, the most recent trip we took was in 2018 with a group of Sand Creek kids. That was to Tokyo and Quito, and Tokyo and Kyoto. So we had a lot of fun in Japan. Really, again, a strictly tour-based trip, not with the service learning component. So I've been working with EF for quite some time. We've got a trip planned for Japan that is pretty much booked and done for this coming spring break. So that'll be the 5th EF tour I've done with this company, and they're pretty great. We'll talk a little bit about them now. So EF Tours has been around for 55 plus years. They have staff all over the planet in 50 different countries, and they're more or less like what's a good way of putting it? I don't want to say they're like the Amazon, I guess, if you will, of international travel. I mean, they're like the brand to go to. There's a lot of other companies, but this is a trusted, tried and true program. And they're also accredited. So there are some options for different ways for students to earn college credit, which is pretty cool. And I can share a little bit more about that should people be interested. Okay. So just to get into the nuts and bolts of our UK trip, Ireland, Scotland, and England, we are going to be traveling over spring break of 2023. It is an 11-day tour, and although spring break is a little bit longer than that, we're asking that people just sort of block out the entire date range of spring break, as just in order to get flight costs down and sort of how they book a lot of things. It's important for us to have a bit of flexibility, and then 90 days before departure, we get the exact dates within that date window. Let's see here. So on the map, if you'll check out what we're doing, we are flying into Dublin initially. It looks like we have a dog leg in Kilkenny for 2 nights, then out to Holyhead, Cheshire for a night, Edinburgh, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which I'm sure I'm not, and then London for the 3 nights, and then home. So of the 11 days, realistically, there's a bookend day of travel on either end just for the, you say transcontinental flight. Okay, so to break it down a little bit, days 1 through 5, Kilkenny and Dublin. Yeah, that first day really is that travel day. Second day is just checking out, and again, I've not been to these places, so I'm gonna murder these terms, but I'm really excited to check out the UK. I've been in London for a stopover when I was a kid. I've never really checked out the UK extensively, so this will be a new experience for me. But we'll be checking out some historic sites, checking out some castles. There is a Titanic museum that we'll be checking out. Just a general experience of Dublin. And when it refers to local expert, we'll tag on what that means a little bit with the tour guides and the tour directors that will be supporting us throughout this a little later. We'll check out St. Patrick's Cathedral, and we will visit the Epic Museum. And I'm not quite sure what that is, but it appears to be something nautical. And then we take a ferry from island to island out to Holyhead. Second half of the tour, we will visit Conway Castle, Conway. We will go to Edinburgh. There'll be a guided tour with a day guide. We will visit Edinburgh Castle. And then off to London, we will see the London Bridge, check out downtown London, visit the British Museum, and then we have that last day of travel. So this is a pretty robust trip in terms of the itinerary. Usually the trips I take are closer to 9 days, which means being there for a week. As this is an 11-day trip, this is going to be 9 days basically on site, and then the 2 bookend days of travel. We're going to check out the Tube, as it were, the London Underground, which should be pretty interesting and exciting. Again, the Edinburgh Castle, a little bit more in detail, which looks really just amazing and beautiful. And of course, food, which is one of my favorite things about travel and experiencing different cultures and the history and everything. The food looks phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see what that is all about. In terms of the learning, there is a potential to wrap this up into a capstone project, which happens to be one of the realms I oversee as Dean of Pathway Learning. So if students wanted to have sort of an ongoing project where they document what they're doing and do some reflection and have some sort of an outcome, perhaps they put together a short video or a blog, an essay, something to that effect. We take the hours of experiential learning combined with the student doing some academic work, and we marry that together in a capstone. So there is the potential for some high school credit. College credit is also something that I have not had students take advantage of in the past. Apparently, this is articulated with Southern New Hampshire University, and you can get credits that are largely transferable. Depending on where you are going for college, I would definitely talk with your advisor and kind of get into the details on that, but it potentially could be a great value for many students. And then they also have the Uncommon app, and this is basically a tool that helps students put together personal essays and prepare for college applications. And the value right now of, the state of Colorado has basically moved to go SAT test optional for a lot of the, state school system. Colleges are looking at different things to set students aside and give your student an opportunity to be above and beyond in a college application, including things like work-based learning and service learning and travel experiences. So definitely something you might want to look into. And then another kind of bit of nitty-gritty, group travel. We're looking to travel with a pretty large group, and we're also looking to combine with a group from Sand Creek High School with one of the art teachers that I go way back with. And that basically gives us buying power, is sort of the corporate term for it, I imagine, that if we put together, um, 15, 25, 35 students, and we're all riding the same bus. We're all staying at the same hotel, all booking through the same airline. EF Tours basically uses that buying power to negotiate the price down. So we get basically a pretty good value for what we're looking to do. And also we have kids who make friends from the other groups, get to, maybe you have friends at Sand Creek, maybe you don't, but that it does build a sense of community. In the past, when we've had smaller groups, we've gotten paired up with groups from Oregon, Florida, different places. And it is pretty cool to see kids build, lasting friendships and, touching base on social media, as it were, years later. So group travel is not a bad way to go. Okay, so big question always, safety, right? And so in my experience, EF is like traveling with training wheels, where you can get the bike going and you're balancing on your own, but should something go wrong and you pop over and have to skid onto that training wheel, you're in really good hands. So we are going to have a tour director. The tour director is on tour with us 24/7. They have a satellite phone, so should we be off in a mountain region with no service, they do have service. They have the safety and incident response team. There have been things that have gone wrong on tour, and they've been highly responsive with either getting kids local medical care or working with families and doctors, figuring out what's the best case scenario. We did have a student who the determination after coming back from the Dominican Republic was the onset of an illness hit like that, and we had an ambulance waiting for us at DIA. EF took care of everything for that. The student is fine, long story short, but this is one of the reasons why I really like EF, is that they really are looking out for you with all of this. Okay, there is going to be a 1 to 6 chaperone to student ratio. Our chaperones are going to be licensed staff from the school and people I trust. So those are going to be basically, we'll have like little like family groups, as it were, and then the tour director as the main person, and then the day guides, which are people that we might make friends with for 4 hours once during the trip, but we'll really get to know the tour director throughout this process. And 100% of the tour directors I've worked with are just fantastic folks. They are always people who speak both the local language and English, and are from that place. So that's their home, and that EF vets people significantly. So they don't just take people off the street to become tour directors. They typically hire from other tour companies people who have been working in the industry for quite some time. Okay, the peace of mind program. So the confidence with this, and just kind of a lot of the global things going on that might make one reluctant to travel. Basically, COVID being namely a big one. EF is really flexible with things. So should we need to move our tour date or our tour location for any reason, up to and including volcanoes. They had a volcano go off in Iceland some years ago that grounded flights. And through the protection programs listed here, they put students up in hotels and fed them as they were stuck in Europe and all flights were grounded for a couple weeks. So EF's looking out for you. The global travel protection, $165 fee, that's baked into the overall price. That's basically mandatory. The global travel protection plus basically allows people to cancel for any reason up until the day of departure. So this is more or less an insurance policy. If you were to cancel for an act of God under the global travel protection program, such as your child breaks a leg, the week before the trip, and this is just not going to be a good experience for them, then you are covered for cancellation. If your student has bad grades and they're in trouble, you're not. There will be some cancellation fees involved. So most people are going to be pretty much fine with the global travel protection plan. And then also we have the risk-free enrollment period. So basically, were you to sign up, you can cancel for any reason before February 1st of this coming year, and you get your refund. Let's see here. Okay, so what's included? This is a good one. So it includes the airfare. The hotels are always safe and quality. And my Tokyo experience can be quite small, but in lots of places, basically they're going to be what you'd expect for an average Days Inn or something to that level of quality. It's going to be clean. It'll be safe. It's not going to be in a terrible neighborhood. Let's see here. It does include the fees for the professional tour director who's with us the whole time. On-tour transportation. So that means buses, ferries in this case, which will be new for me. Rail, if we're taking a bullet train somewhere. Those type of things are all included. The educational information. So there'll be like nightly reflections where we get together and sort of debrief and educational lessons basically throughout the tour. The guided tours and activities. Breakfast and dinner. The on-tour assistance. So again, something goes wrong, your student is having some sort of health issue, something goes wrong with the bus, whatever it might be. The traveler support team. Again, if there is some sort of crisis going on with family at home or student abroad, that there's that connection, and again, this huge network through EF that can help. There's a tour donation page, which is a pretty cool feature. This is something where you can hyperlink onto your social media. I don't know if anybody uses Facebook anymore or whatever it might be, but this is something where the student or parent can basically reach out with this link, and people can donate directly to the balance of the cost of the tour. Project-based learning program, again, educational curriculum. The Uncommon app, we had talked on that a little bit about basically helping students prep for college applications. You get a backpack. And then the global travel protection plan, that 165 we spoke of, is baked into the overall price. Things that you're going to cover, aka not included, that's going to be, you got to get your passport, visa where applicable, baggage fees, and typically I encourage students strongly not to have only have carry-ons. So that's not usually an issue, but potentially we can discuss that at a later date if there are some needs there. Spending money, you want to buy souvenirs, obviously you'll need a little bit of cash for that. Lunches and snacks are on your own, and that is actually kind of fun. Where kind of midday you'll get a chance to get a little bit of choice about if you want to try something that's not necessarily on the itinerary. Maybe half the group goes and checks out this restaurant. Maybe some of these people are having some street food. You get a little bit of flex on that. And we'll again, later we can talk about in detail sort of how you budget for that. There are some tips included that we'll have to tip out bus drivers. We'll have to tip out our tour guide and some of the day guides. That usually, again, I've taken shorter trips. That usually is ballpark $90 for the whole trip. It might be a little bit more since it's 11 days, but again, that's something we can get into at a later date. That's not going to be massive. And then the college credit, and to articulate that, I think is $200 or $300 for the whole course. Optional. Okay, so payment options. Basically, we've got 32 weeks to pay. If you're paying every other week, it's $121 for 32 payments. If you're paying once a month, $241. If you're paying in full, just shy of $3,945, or I'm sorry, just shy of $4,000, right? $3,945 to pay just in full. And there is a $95 deposit to save your spot on the trip. That would be deducted from this amount. And then there is a $200 discount that is currently included in these prices, currently reflected in that grand total. So after the first 12 students are enrolled, this number goes up a little bit. So just a little incentive to sign up early. The monthly basis is the number one option chosen usually. The Global Citizen Scholarship is an opportunity where basically students can apply for a scholarship to help contribute towards this cause. Usually those submissions open sometime in the spring, so those aren't quite available quite yet for the following year's tours for 2023, but that is an option to help contribute and bring the price down a bit. And then as well, that personal donation page we talked about, that is really a good tool to, you got a big birthday coming up or a holiday, rather than getting some toys or whatever it might be, you could ask, people who'll be gifting you things if they could contribute an amount to your tour balance. So enrollment time. Again, it's the prices shown there reflect that $200 off for the first travelers enrolled. We have an enrollment deadline from a week from tonight, and that will basically get you to the enrollment page here. And I'm also going to send a follow-up email shortly that's going to have all this link. This link, I can include follow-up about the questions that you may have from that tiny URL QR from the beginning. And we are pretty much going to leave it at that. I think I hit past a little bit past that 20-minute mark I was hoping for, but I encourage folks to kind of do a little bit of research. Please reach out to me. Again, I'll have an email coming out here shortly that'll let you know how to get a hold of me and answer any questions I see on the sign-in form. I'm going to try to get that sorted out tomorrow. If I can't answer every question, that might be because I got to go back and forth a little bit with our EF rep. Their customer service is great, so it shouldn't be too long. And yes, hope to have you folks travel with us, and looking forward to checking out a new part of the world myself and helping students experience the world. I've seen students in the classroom as a teacher for many, many years. learn. And you can do some fantastic things in the classroom, but the amount of growth and, sort of autonomy and leadership skills and growth that I see in like a single week program, taking kids abroad like this, is really just on a whole different level. And so I'm really excited to try to share that with you folks. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing right now. I'm going to stop recording. And then please do drop those questions on the form and I will follow up. I hope everybody has a fantastic night and we will talk soon.